Hi, my name is Mark Anthony Dubose Jr. I was born July 4th, 1986. I want to say thank you for tuning in. I want to put a disclaimer up front right now and just say I don't have a degree in human psychology, animal psychology. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD. I don't have a master's degree. I don't have a bachelor's degree, and I don't even have an associate's degree, and I don't even have a certificate of some sort to say that I went to some school to give me the knowledge that I have. The knowledge that I have, I believe, just comes from experience. And in reality, I'm realizing something strange about science and experience, that they don't line up. They're on like completely different understandings of life compared to what I want to say is the real world. When I talk science, I'm talking animal and behavior science. The science behind this stuff is in a controlled manner, not in a real world situation. In a controlled scenario, in a controlled circumstances, I can make anything be what I want it to be. But in the real world, I can't be the same because there's an unlimited amount of variables. Everything is constantly changing, from the weather to the wind to random items that just come to me to just weird stuff goes on. I mean, there's a video I was making months and months and months ago that I was just talking, and all of a sudden my dog is standing in an ant pile. That I wasn't going out there in the sense of everything is going to be okay and all of a sudden I'm going to have to get ants off the dog. No, I had to stop what I was doing in a haste, run, get ants off her, and stuff just happens. But in science, everything is controlled. Because there's one thing I want to talk about, because I was just watching a video of a lady talking about something that just proves to me in reality how disconnected science is when they're working with animals compared to reality. And she was talking about this science project that they do about how the dopamine kicks in the animals, and it shows on how being avoidant and escaping brings the dopamine up of the animal. So we should be able to use it as a good thing because the dopamine is going up. But in my mind, to live in real life, that is toxic. That is destructive. But in a scientific stance, it's like a beautiful thing to be able to use and utilize. The beautiful thing that they like to use and utilize it of is because in their controlled environments, there's only one option. But there's nothing in life, in real life, that there's only just one option. There's an unlimited amount of options to be able to have to undergo to figure out which path do you want to take to actually be able to get yourself into a better place. But when there's only one option, or you only perceive to be one option, that's where things can come and get misleading and manipulative. So the project that she's talking about is the concept of, they've done this with mice and rats and dogs, where they put the electrodes on the floor and they force the animal to do something to get the electrodes to go away. So when the dogs, they were doing like lifting up a paw. For the mice, they're doing push this button. And then when they would push the button or lift the paw, they would give them a so-called positive reward, such as throwing it food. So in this sense, they're showing that the animals will willingly, on their own, get away from that negative reinforcement of the electrodes shocking them, that they just push the button and it all goes away. And then they're proving that they'll start to avoid and escape the electrodes faster and sooner by pushing the button faster or sooner, or doing whatever it is that they did before to make it stop. So whatever scenario it is, make them turn in a circle, to make them jump, to make them wave, to make them push a button, to make them do whatever it is that they're doing, they will do it faster to not get electrocuted. They're taking this as saying the animals are learning that positive reinforcement, such as give the animal a treat, helps them, and it actually brings them in a better place because they're escaping and avoiding. And it's allowing them to be able to never experience that said danger anymore. This is the part with me, in my mind, that things start to get dangerous. Because in a controlled sense, they're only giving the animal one option. Touch the button, do the trick, and then you get your treat. There's no such thing as just one option in the real world. And I want to put this in a sense of human beings, on how, in my mind, silly this stuff is to explain how give a dog a treat is a positive reward to actually help the dog. Because this is a scenario that I want to talk about up front, is gambling. And gambling is, for the most part, in a controlled environment. Or at least it kind of started off that way. Nowadays, we got this stuff on our phones where we can do all this stuff. But for the most part, you go to the casino in a controlled environment. You're going there where you're only going to be drinking, you're going to be smoking, and you're going to be gambling. All you got is the machines, the games, that's it. It's all going on. You're in a controlled environment. So the first part of this controlled environment, I want to explain. When you're running, most people, unfortunately, end up, you go to the gambling for just this one-off type scenario, and they just gamble. But then there's some people that just keep on going. And the people that keep on going because they're trying to escape and avoid something. They're trying to run away from something. So gambling is the same sense as drinking, as food, as whatever you want to use, drugs. But gambling is the one that just is simple to talk about right now. Because I could put a gambling machine, like a slot machine, a poker machine or whatever, in the middle of a natural environment, like, say, right here. I could just put a machine right there. And someone may be going to that machine to escape some, say, misery, some problems, some issues that's going on in their life. So they go to that machine to escape and they feel good. So if you stick those same machines on that person in front of that gambling machine, you would see that the dopamine is rising intensely with that person because they're getting that said high. They're getting that rush of the only thing I can say is escapism of feel goods. The world over there sucks. This is awesome. I feel good. Is that healthy? Is that a good thing? So now the main thing behind that is, this is the part where I can say when it comes to the dogs, and it just doesn't quite make sense. This is where you could have a dog in a, say, controlled manner of, say, in the house. You give the dog a treat and the dog stops doing something in the controlled environment. It doesn't have any other choice. It can't run away because it's stuck in the house. And in most cases, it has nothing to really fear inside of the home, as most dogs don't really fear too much in the home. Some that do, it's in my brain, it's easy to get them to stop being fearful of stuff in the house, but it's usually not scared in the house. There's not much. And if they're scared in the house and there's a dog that's walking down the street, you explain to the dog, just go further inside the house, just take yourself away and you're fine. So basically you make them escape. And this is the part where I can say it works. The dog is able to escape into a safety place. But in the real world, in the environment, this is where this goes absolutely backwards. Because I have that slot machine right there. And say to a human, he's escaping his problems. But then there's always going to be a new problem, a new threat. So say there's like a bear that's right there. Now that guy is scared and nervous and worried of what it is that he's escaping to be on that machine. But do you think that he's going to stay on that machine knowing that there's a bear in his vicinity that he can clearly see that there's no fences and it's coming to get him? This bear is staring at him like, buddy, you're about to be dinner tonight. You think that guy is going to be standing there playing on that game thinking, I wish everything would just go away. Everything is fine if I just stay on this machine? Or is that guy going to run away? This is the real world stuff where the stuff just doesn't work. Because in a real world scenario, you give the dog a treat because it's scared and you're able to get it to be in a good place, like in a controlled environment. But in the real world, it's going to have a new unlimited amount of things that it's going to have to be able to do. So in the house, it's going to know, oh, I'm scared. I come to get the treat. But in the real world, that treat is no longer as powerful. It's not powerful at all compared to what that next thing is that's across the street that's barking at them, or the next whatever that the dog is afraid of and scared of. That next thing is going to be much more important for the dog to have to worry about than that silly treat inside of your hand. It's in your pocket. That's why when you keep on giving these dogs these treats, it's just in a sense of going absolutely nowhere, because you're forcing the dog to just continue to keep on escaping to nothingness. It can't keep running away. It has to finally at some point deal with it. And the more that we keep escaping, the more that you're going to end up being an addict, and an addict that's going to continue to keep on needing more and more and more. And when the dog needs more and more and more, where do you end up? A pushy dog, a dog that's not getting through its issues, a dog that is just going to be demanding so much from you that it's going to be impossible for you to be able to even think about keeping up with. So that's the thing. I just really have noticed when it comes down to these science projects, they're doing it in a controlled, sterile environment. And they're only giving these animals one option, one opportunity to be able to make something happen. And then they're saying, oh, see, it works. A controlled room and the real world are nothing of the same. They're nothing of the same. There's no comparison. And for people to believe that we can do things in a controlled manner, to be able to think that we can replicate that in the real world, that's the part of me that, no disrespect, but that's the part of me that these science projects are like so elementary. Like we need to start to do a little more advanced type things. And a simple experiment to be able to really, in reality, straight up prove what it is I'm saying is something that I see with like these rats that I have on my property out here. I do my own little experiments with them because they're out here. Since they're out here, I might as well get a 2-in-1 and figure out, learn more about them and understand them a little bit more and figure out like tips and techniques that I can use to actually like see a real world scenario as opposed to a cage scenario. In a cage, it doesn't get a choice, but out here. So an experiment that I would say that I've been doing out here, what I would say to these scientists that put the electrode and give the mouse a button to push. Make it like a 2 or a 3 tier system. On the bottom, there's an electrode and a button, and if he pushes the button, the electrode goes away and he gets a treat. And or there's an opportunity of the middle level that there's nothing. He could just run away and just stay up there and just say, hey, I'm here. He could look down there and say, you know, that's hostile down there. Let me just stay up here. And then there's the next level of maybe go to a 3rd or a 4th level that just, you know, may have some food up there. What do you think the mouse is going to do? Do you think the mouse in this artificial thing is going to stay on that electrode and hit that button to get the electrodes off, or is it going to just run away? And once he runs away, this is the part that's fascinating. He runs away, but then what happens is he comes back to investigate. He comes back to check it out. He comes back to figure out, is there a way around this? But at first, what happens is he's going to have to run away because that's in his natural thing to do up front. But instead, what the science project push and face and say is, there is no option to run away. You can only just push this button. And you can only just get this treat. That's the part where things are getting to the point that it's the addictive mindset because it doesn't have an option. When you only give it one option, and the option is the force of the control, the option that you put on it, as opposed to the option that the animal itself is needing, that's where things start to get really, really toxic. That's where it becomes manipulation. That's where it's no longer the animal to be able to decide on its own how to be able to get through this problem. You're putting it through something that it doesn't get a choice. That's why, in my mind, I'm seeing things aren't getting better. Because at first, this is where the beauty of what I want to say is a 15-foot leash and a dog being next to something that is scared of. So such as an inflatable. I've done this with so many dogs with these inflatable things. When they come up around Halloween time and certain times of the year and Christmas time, they always got these big inflatables out. The dogs just go crazy over them. I don't know what it is, but they just go wild over them. So in a scenario like that, this is where things start to, where I could say the magic happens. That I don't believe that this is the part where positive reinforcement with treats, pretty much I just see across the board just fail. Because the dog gets scared and you give the dog a food. Your dog gets scared, you give the dog food. Your dog gets scared, you give the dog food. All the dog is learning to do is avoid and escape. It's not learning to deal, to accept. It's just learning, this is just what it is. So just keep running away and everything is fine. So that's why every single time, every single scenario, you keep on seeing these things, the dog just keeps getting worse, and or worst case scenario, it just stays the same. It's just always scared. It sees it, it's scared, it's looking for you. Where's my food? Where's my food? Where's my food? Where's my food? Get my food, get my food. As opposed to the dog being with you and running away on that 15-foot leash. It gets scared. After a while, the dog is just going to stand there from a distance and just stare at it on its own. It is on its own going to eventually start making a decision. Let me go check that out. And then it's going to eventually get close to it. Then it's going to eventually start to sniff it. Then it's going to eventually just realize, oh, there's nothing wrong here. There's nothing to worry about. When the dog does it all on its own, the dog is now in a sense of its own control, that it realizes it's actually not scary. So it no longer needs to run away. It no longer needs to escape. It no longer needs to avoid. It needs to just be indifferent because now it just doesn't matter to the dog anymore. And now the dog has gotten through its fear, and now it's done with the fear. Now it's able to move forward in life with having no fear. But the thing with what always keeps happening is you're not giving the dog that option of figuring it out on its own. You're saying to the dog, that's scared. I know you're scared. Let's escape. Just keep escaping, keep escaping, keep escaping, keep running away, keep avoiding it. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Just look the other way. Don't even pay attention to it over there. Just keep running away from all your problems. Keep running away from all your issues. That doesn't get you in a better place. In a controlled sense, yes. It works. It's a beautiful thing because they don't have anything else that they need to be worried about. But in the real world, there's everything to be scared and nervous about, especially for a dog. It could smell something for 8 miles over there. The wind brings it in. And now it's just like, ooh, what was that? What's going on with that? It can make the dog nervous. But in a controlled environment, that's not an option. That's not there. So this is why things just don't quite make sense to me when they're talking about these science projects and trying to put it into real world, in a real world application. All that I'm seeing is it creates addiction, and it creates addiction through manipulation. And that manipulation is not in a sense of seeing the best in, it's using them, it's abusing them, it's getting them to be able to do things that at the end of the day, they're never going to be able to get through it. And the more and more and more that we keep doing it, the worse and worse and worse the dog ends up getting in the level of, I want to say, is trust. the more distrust that the animal is going to get of saying, I don't know how to be able to do anything on my own. I need you to be able to do everything for me. And when a dog is in a sense of I need you to do for me, the dog is going to then be extremely terrified, just a nervous wreck. The dog's not going to have any confidence that it could do something on its own. It's always looking for, please save me, please bail me out, please do something for me, please just give me everything I need so that I can just get out of the world and you make the world safe. The dog's going to be a nervous, on edge, sketchy, never confident, just in a way of unpredictable type animal. It's always going to be just on edge. It's just not going to be in a comfortable, just hanging out, relaxed, chilling, just good way of being. It's going to be just nervous. And that's just what I constantly keep seeing when I see dog today. A nervous, scared, on edge, sketchy, just super soft in a way of just not able to actually deal with any confrontation. It just constantly just has to do nothing else but run away, escape, and avoid. It doesn't ever think of, I can investigate that and figure out something more here. It's just constantly just, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. Now, something that I really want people to think about when it comes down to these science projects, because these people talk like they got all the answers and they got it all figured out. But I believe they got it all figured out in a controlled manner, not in a real world situation. In a real world, what's going on when you take the dog to the park? Everything is it's open at that moment. But in a controlled sense, it looks pretty. It looks so good. It sounds so good. The numbers line up. Everything just, it's just so immaculate that it's like, oh my goodness, this works. But this is the thing. If it worked, why doesn't it work? If all I had to do was give my dog a treat to be able to help my dog get over reactivity issues that it has, such as barking, we all know what that means. Give my dog a treat and it gets it over that. Why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it work across the board when science states as an overall consensus that they're stating that this positive reinforcement helps dogs get through these problems, helps dogs learn how to learn, helps dogs learn how to do tricks, helps dogs do all these things, and it helps them be able to do it in a way that so-called compulsion-based training is outdated and no good and doesn't work. Not that I'm saying compulsion-based training is a way either. I don't believe that is also not a way. That is also the same thing, but I'm just talking about the side of the treat base today on why, if the science states that give the dog a treat, it'll stop being reactive. If it works, why doesn't it work? Why aren't people just getting all the success? Why aren't all these dogs? Because I would sign up for that in an instant. And I know every single person would just sign up for that, knowing that if that was the way, it's so simple, easy, and fun in reality to just give the dog treats. But if it worked, why doesn't it work? Why are people struggling more and more and more? Why are people looking for that next different technique to do with the treat even? The next way to be able to work with it, the next. Why doesn't it work? If the science states that this is the way to be able to get the dogs through their fears, through their insecurities, through their problems, to be able to get dogs to be able to walk around and not be dog reactive, not be human reactive. You just give the dog a treat and the dog will no longer be reactive anymore. If it worked, why is it that so many people are not getting help? Why is it that so many people have no choice but to just think that they got to give up on the dog, to put the dog down? Forget giving up on it. I got to put the dog down at this moment because it's reactive and nothing's working. If giving a dog a treat works so good, why doesn't it fix it? Why doesn't it help it even? Why doesn't it change the dog? Why does it continue to keep on getting worse? To the point that today I'm using 1 or 2 treats, to the next day I'm using 8 to 10 treats, to the next day I got 2 or 3 or 4 pounds of food on me just to be able to walk my dog around a quarter mile around the neighborhood. Because every single time it sees a dog, it's freaking out. So you got to just feed. When it just started off with just giving them 1 dose a time. 1 dose a dog it used to be. But now it's 100 doses a dog. Because that's what happens with addictions. You start off with the dose and then all of a sudden you need 20 doses, 30 doses, 40 doses. You can't just keep escaping. You can't just keep avoiding. That's what pretty much all cases happen with that. And everyone knows more than likely someone in your family or a friend or something close to you that you know someone has been heavy in drug use and drug abuse. When they're escaping something, it doesn't come to a point that they just, I just quit today. I'm just done. For people that are using substances, because I've done this in my life. I'll drink some, just think like, why am I even drinking? Because I'm bored. Not because I'm trying to run away from something. And then I don't want to do it no more. I'm good. I'm done. And that's most cases. That's how I am with food even. I'm like, I just get to the point that I get eaten. And I'm like, why am I eating so much? And they're like, let's just cut that back. And I just won't eat for a couple of days. And I just get right back on. I just eat small, basic, simple meals every single day again. Because I'm not doing it in the sense of I need to run away. I need to escape something. So that's the part where there's a difference, I can say. If you're trying to use, I can't even say that because some people are going to take that the wrong way. But straight up, that's the difference I can say is how someone can be able to use treats to help a dog, but not help a dog get through its fears and insecurities and overexcitement as well at the same time. You can help a neutral, indifferent dog do better tricks, but you're not going to help an excited, fearful dog get better from giving it food. That's the part that I don't believe that most people are quite understanding. And that's the part that science at the same time with all this is not even like going deep into detail with all of that. Who knows what kind of animals they're actually using? Are they already using it? Because straight up, if you're in a controlled lab and in a controlled environment, the dog is indifferent already. It's not going to be scared. So that's why they have to force something in in that sterile environment to get the dog to be scared to see how it would react, such as electrocute it. But in the natural, real world, what in this world is here to electrocute a dog? I mean, my dogs have hit my my electric fence wire. Every single dog I hear. Oh, Ophi's the only one that hasn't touched it. Was that actually at this point I don't have any low enough that she could hit. But I used to have one for where the pig was at. That it's on the ground level, so the dogs are trying to walk in there and they'll get hit by it. And it's a big hit. And all my dogs have learned, don't touch that wire. But that's something that they learned is I'm going to avoid it. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to hit it. I'm not going to stay on it. And then they investigate it. And then they realize, okay, that's what it was, because they get nervous. They walk in that area and they're like, oh, what was that? They don't know what it was. But the biggest thing that they always do is they come back, they check it out, they verify it, they smell it, they say, okay, that's what the problem is. The problem isn't the whole area. The problem is just this little part right here. That's real world working on things. As opposed to in the lab, they're not giving them a choice. They're shocking them until they push a button, until they push a button, until they push a button. That's the only option that they get, is to push that button. They don't get an option to troubleshoot on their own to figure out, how can I make this happen? They only have one chance, one situation to work with, and that's going to give you fake results, a phony way of looking at what reality is. We don't have one option out here. There's an unlimited amount of options, and the option needs to come from the choice of that animal, of that being. Not the option that I choose what I want it to be. No, the option of what that animal perceives as being the thing that it needs. Some dogs are going to be slower and some dogs are going to be faster with what it is that it needs to be able to get itself through problems that it has, that's got going on with it. But what happens is when we're forcing the animal into avoidance, we're forcing the animal into, what's the other word with that? Escaping, then the dog is not able to process its issues. It's not able to troubleshoot it. It's just, you're putting it and forcing it into an addictiveness of run away. Never deal with your problems. I don't know why, like I said, I'm not a scientist, but it's weird on how I can listen to them talk. And it's like, who are you trying to say this to? Like, no disrespect, but it's like you're trying to talk to people as if they're stupid, as if they can't like troubleshoot their own selves through what it is that you're doing and you're saying. And we just have to take your word. It just is what it is. And in my mind, I just don't work that way. You gotta be clear and very concrete with what it is that they're stating. And they're not clear. They're not definite. They're always, I'm not sure and I don't knows. And it's hard for anyone to really even follow that at the end of the day when that's how they're acting. But they put that white coat on and they're like, don't question my authority. I grew up that way, but I'm no longer that way. I question. My doctor works for me. I don't work for them. They're not just going to tell me what it is. I'm going to ask them questions and say, hey, why is it this way? And I'm going to see what they have to say after that. If they're stumbling and fumbling off this proven stuff that they know, there's what more is there for me? I don't really have anything more to say to you. And that's just what I constantly keep on seeing. That's why it's unfortunate that it's interesting to me that a lot of these doctors and a lot of these people, they don't want to be challenged. They want people to just yes, man, yes, sir, no, man, like just agree with everything that they say. Just be yes, man. And don't challenge what it is that they say, because they're right. And the moment that you think to challenge them is the moment that they go straight to, I like this world, avoidance and escapism. They can't just deal with it. They got to run away. They can't just stay in it. That's the part with me of it's fascinating that what people try to say is what is real and what is right. But when they're challenged with what is real, what is right, they do the opposite of what it is that they preach. Because I see this so much, especially from like dog trainers. They say they got it, but then when someone challenges them, they run away. If you're running away, that's what you're training and teaching the dogs to keep running away. And you wonder why they're not getting better. And I already know from a person, that's probably why I know this. Unfortunately, I know this. If your dog is reactive, it's something that you're doing. Because I can take your dog that's been reactive. I don't care how crazy you think it is. Give me days and it's not going to be that no more. I've seen this. I've done this so many times at 100% rate with that if I get to keep the dog, I can get that dog to not be reactive towards the things that you are normally used to seeing. I'm not able to do it in no 20 minutes and no 24 hours, some dogs, but give me some time and I will get that dog to be extremely indifferent to the world. And I've done that so many times and I've seen other people do the same exact thing. That's how I know that it's something that we, the human, are doing. But the main thing is, the thing I'm going to say with that is most cases, we as humans are also escaping and we're also avoiding. And that's why our dogs are the same thing, because we're not just going headfirst into our problems. What's going on with us, the issues that are going down, we're running away from it. And when we run away from it, when we take a pill, when we start to drink, when we start to do things to escape, that's just your mentality of who you are. So then you wonder, you have this addiction that's going on in you. And then you start to realize, wow, unfortunately, your kids end up with that addiction the same way. And then unfortunately, nowadays, the dog has ended up with that same exact addiction. It's just a trickle effect that's going on. But when you just say, no more, I'm not going to come home after work and drink tonight. I'm just going to deal with my problems. You're going to watch your dog get into a better place. You're going to watch your spouse get into a better place. You're going to watch your children get into a better place. The moment that you decide to do that, it's going to suck at first for a little bit. It is. It's going to be hard. It's going to be real hard because that's just what you've been doing, is avoiding and escaping. But the moment that you stop doing that, the moment you just go head first into it, is the moment that you're going to see real change. Because everything is a trickle-down effect of what's going on in the world around with what it is that you're doing. If you're escaping, you're forcing that on everything around you to do the same thing as you. You don't want anything to do anything different than you. Another huge issue with human beings. We force others to do what it is that we are. We don't want them to be better. We want them to do the same, if not actually in reality. Unfortunately, most people want people to do the worse than what it is that they're doing. And when you're living by that sense, of course, everything around you is going to be a reflection of what it is that you do. A reactive dog is coming from someone, in my opinion, straight up. I don't care if you get mad at me and be whatever you want to say to me right now. I don't care. A reactive dog is coming from a reactive person. A reactive dog that is addicted to stuff is coming from a reactive person that is addicted to stuff, that is addicted to things to escape, to run away. You're not going headfirst into the issues and the problems that they have. You're constantly just putting it off, blaming, and trying to shove all your problems on everything else except for just standing up for your own self and just saying, I'm the one that's causing this. And the dog is just showing that in your face. It's showing it. But my dogs, what they show me is, I like it because it just happened earlier to me. It just happened actually. Just two of my dogs, my Border Collie, my Dalmatian, just did it. They're just like me in the sense that they show me how I am, in the sense that when you tell me to do something, I'm going to look at you and say, no, I don't care. I don't really want to listen to that. I just want to kind of just do what I want to do. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not damaging nobody. I just want to do what I want to do. And my dogs show me that exact same thing. It can get frustrating sometimes because I'm like, I just want you to just stop doing that right now. And they're just like, oh, well, why? And I'm like, it's frustrating sometimes, I'll say. But that's something that I have to challenge my own self with saying, is this something that I want to work on? Or is this something that I could just deal with and just accept? This is who I am. This is just what it is. And I can see that. And I can see that on how people talk to me. I'm not just like, oh yeah, I'm right there. I'm like, why you want me to do that? Why are you talking to me like that? Why are you around me like that? And I'm quick to just cut you off in a half a second. I don't care about what you're saying. I don't care about how you are and what you're doing. I'm done instantly. I don't go back. I don't think. I don't double ask. I don't care. I just move forward. And my dogs do that same thing. They're the same exact way. I personally like it because it shows me how strong and how confident and how independent they are, that they don't need something to be able to do. They're fine on their own. I like that. But also it's challenging. But that's the part of me where I have to understand what type of relationships and sort of relationships I want to have in my life. Am I fine with that? And for me, in my moment in life today, I can say I'm fine with that. But most people, with y'all and your reactive dogs and problems that you got with that, you're not fine with that. You're very disappointed in it. You're very insecure about it. And the thing is, it's not the dog, it's you. Something that you are doing, you are being, that is causing that to happen. And the moment that you just see that, stop and just look at it, is the moment that you're actually going to find what you're actually needing. Thinking that you could just make the problem disappear because you just give it some food or give it some drugs or do something like that is a moment that you're failing. You're failing instantly when you think that way. That's why the whole concept of this give the dog a treat is in my mind, the way I look at it is a failure. It's an absolute failure. It works in a controlled manner, but in the real world, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And anybody I could just straight up, I don't have the best of the best. I'm not the greatest of the greatest, but I do have stuff that pretty much every single person out there is looking to be able to get. I'm able to get my dogs to places that people could only just wish and dream that they could possibly be able to have. And I can say that what I do with my dogs is very, very, what do you call that? Not relatable. Man, what's that word? I can't think of that word. Replicatable. I don't know if that's a word or not, but we're going with that. In the sense of, I can easily show someone, because I've done this many times, just do this, and you're going to watch your dog just start to get better and better and better. It's very replicatable. And I just don't see that in anything else. When it comes down to, especially, just staying on topic with giving a dog a treat to try to get it through all of its issues. All I see are dogs that just keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. They become addicts, that they become so dependent that they don't know how to function anymore without getting their dose, without getting their fixes. And when they don't get their fix, they start to get extremely hostile, very angry, very just the word that we use in a dog sense is aggressive, is where they start to get. Because they're fiending and they're needing and they can't be able to live and function on their own because they're constantly just being force-fed, escape your issues, don't deal with them. Something I would really want a lot of people to think about, especially when it comes down to this science stuff, because unfortunately, most of this stuff is all about money. And who gets the money? The people, what projects make money or get the funds are the projects that make money. The projects that don't make no money, they're not going to get funded. So this is where it gets complicated for me personally when I'm really looking at all this stuff, because the projects that are going to get pushed to us are going to be the projects that are going to force us to have to keep spending more money, as opposed to the projects that are going to get forced to say, hey, this right here, you're not going to need a pet store no more. You're not. These pet stores are outrageous because all the treats and all the toys and all the everything, they're not going to be needed no more when you really realize that give the dog a treat doesn't actually give the dog to get into a better place. It gets the dog addicted and it turns them into crack addict fiends when you just keep doing that. That once you get out of that and you get away from that and you don't need all of that anymore, you're going to realize why the science is stating what it's stating. Because they need and they have to work off of give me more money. So when they're already skewed that way, they're already messed up in that sense that's the way that our world, unfortunately, is just written. And when I know that our world is written that way, it makes total sense on why give the dog a treat and it's going to help it through its problems. It's going to continue to keep on getting pushed because you're not going to get anywhere. And please, anyone, again, or if I haven't said it yet and I got distracted, just show that it works. Show that you could take your dog for an hour or 2 or 3, 4 hour walk somewhere and just be. Get your dog to just be. I don't even need to see a before of how it used to be. Just take your dog and go for a walk and just show the world that, because I don't care. I don't need to see it before. You explain to me, just say, hey, this dog used to be jumping, used to be barking, used to be lunging, used to be doing all this stuff. But now, since I was working with the treats, and now I could take this dog anywhere I go. I don't need no treats on me no more, and the dog is good to go. And I could just go. Just post an hour-long video. YouTube upgraded my settings, so now I can go at 4x speed. I don't need you to even speak. Just give me an intro and just show the videos. But unfortunately, we're not going to see these videos. They're not going to be around. Because it's almost an impossible task for that to be able to happen. The only videos you're going to see of that are going to be stories of about the similar timeline here. The dog was good, and now I'm able to just walk the dog. The dog was never even said reactive when you got the dog. The dog was already a nice dog. The dog was already a good sound dog. And now the dog is just neutral because that's what it already was. But you're not going to tell me that this dog used to be extremely scared, very nervous, very on edge, very suspicious. And now all of a sudden I gave the dog treats and I could walk an hour in the park and I don't have any issues anymore. Just show that. All these grade A trainers, they can't show that. They can show you a 2-minute clip. A dog used to be jumping in, dancing and doing that. And they can show you 2 minutes later, like, oh, look at the dog. It's just walking now for 2 minutes, like not even. Most people show like a 10, 15 second clip and giving you this false reality that things are good now. That's the part that, again, I'm going to say is, if it works, I'd sign up for it. I would have been done, did it. Why would I not want to give my dog a treat to help it through its problems and just make it, and it just worked, if it worked? Why wouldn't I do that? Why am I sitting here day after day after day talking about this negative reinforcement, this positive reinforcement, this all this stuff, this negative and positive punishments and all this stuff, if it all worked? If it all worked, I would have nothing to talk about. I would just go on board with every single dog training video that I've seen, and everything I would just say, oh, this stuff is so great, it's the best, and I just have the best results, and it all works, if it worked. But somehow, in some way, it clearly just doesn't work. And I would say it don't work for me. And I'm going to straight say, I may not be a doctor, but I have and gone to a very highly recommended dog school that states that they produce some of the best dog trainers. And I realize that stuff just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't give me anything long term. And anyone that I speak to and have spoken to, even from that school, the stuff doesn't work. Their dogs are not capable of doing anything. They have to always be in this weird regimen. They always have to have food, always have to have something, always have to be on edge. Stuff that is just strange. 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, we weren't worried. We had a dog on a leash. How come today you have to have this huge setup to just go for a walk with the dog? You can't just put the leash on the dog and go places anymore. What's going on? There must be something going on. The science must not be true, honest. That's the word I'll use. True. Science is true in a sterile, controlled environment. But in the real world, it's a waste of time. Thank you. I've been just, like I said, all I know is based on life. And this is what's weird. This is what's weird about this world and life in general. Somebody can be spending their entire life researching. So I just watched this short film yesterday that really, this is just what it is, people. And I'm not going to say I'm any better or any worse, but there's things that I'm better at than others, and there's things that I'm worse at than others. But a very interesting short film in the sense that this guy was working his entire life to be able to do this science project thing that he was trying to put together. It was some weird science fiction thing on some time travel. He was working his entire life to build this machine. This other guy shows up, and it ended up being his father. And he ended up passing away, and he was a kid and whatever. And he got to the point that his grandpa was trying to teach him his father's work. And he gets it done in a year. This guy was spending 40, 50 years on trying to get something done. And then this young little boy with no daddy took care. He didn't have no daddy. His dad died when he was a little young child. In a year, was able to get done what that guy was spending almost his entire life working on. That's just the way life is. And that's how I see this dog training stuff to be. Some people are spending their entire life to figure things out, where someone else can come in 2 minutes and say, we do it like this. And that's the part with me on why I would never say to somebody, what school did you go to? Where's your education? When it comes down to working with animals, because that's silly. That's the silliest thing on the planet. Some people just know. They wake up and they know. And they start to practice and they start to do things and they just know. And other people, you got to study to figure it out. There's just differences here. And that's what I see science and dogs being. They got to study to try to figure it out. But someone else just knows. Someone else knows. They got it. They just woke up and they're like, that's how I do it. And when you ask, how did you come up with that? I don't know. But isn't it giving you what you're looking for, though? And you have no choice but to say, yeah, it is. But everyone wants like this. They want the lab coat. They want the guy's way, the educated, so-called educated folks to just say, we got it all, this is why. As opposed to a guy comes in and says, I just do this to the dog and it's good. It's weird how our world is like looking for experts to tell us everything and everyone else is dumb. But in reality, man, when it comes to exercise and everything, the experts don't know. They want to know. They try to do so much to figure it out, but they're just not a natural gift at it. I want to listen to the gifted people. The scientists, in my mind, are not natural gifted people. They're struggling so hard to try to force something to be. But a natural person, they don't need to. It just flows. It's comfortable. It's normal. It's not anything out of what they didn't have to study for it. They didn't have to figure it out. They didn't have to they just do it. They do it. And it's just like, wow, it works. And you have no choice but to look at it when it works. That's with me. I was looking at people that stuff didn't work and thinking that they had the answers. That's what I started really, really questioning. You're telling me that this stuff goes away, but why is yours still having on? Why are you still giving your dog a treat every 15 seconds? And you've had this dog for 8 years now. Why are you still doing that when you tell me it fades away? You fade it away. You know, at first it's every time, then it's every fourth time, then every third time, then it fades and fades. But how come your stuff that you're telling me it fades away, you're still doing it? I don't know what else to say, but that you're lying. Straight up is the only words that I can use there. You're straight up lying. And deception is a lie. And if you just don't know, it's still a lie because you're not giving me the honest results that you're telling me that you're going to give me. And I'm looking at all the professionals. Man, I've been, so when I got off Instagram, I haven't been on there in a while. There's a bunch of dog trainers on Instagram that I was watching. And I was like kind of just shocked in reality that so many of them just all of a sudden one day at one moment just straight up answered that question for me. Dude, why you keep giving your dog treats? And they're just like, because I have to. When I don't, they don't keep working for me the same way. I have no other choice. I have to keep doing this. Then they always come up with that same excuse tagline. Well, they're working, so I got to work. Your dog going for a walk around the block isn't work. And dogs don't need a paycheck to go to work. Their work is their world, is their existence. It's to do stuff. That's their positive reinforcement, is to do their work. Positive reinforcement to my Dalmatian is to go chase stuff and get it out of the path. That's her work. I don't need to pay her to do that. She wants to already do what she's doing. That's the confusion I see that people are having with these animals. You think you got to add something extra into that's going to get your dog motivated to want to be able to be with you. No, it's manipulation. The reason you need to keep doing it is because you're in a toxic relationship and the dog is turning into an addict. That's why you got to keep doing it. It's not because you got to pay the dog to work. No, it's because you're in a toxic system. If it worked, why doesn't it work? Why isn't everyone doing it and just getting these amazing results? Why are people still looking and seeking for more? Why are people actually getting worse to the point that they have to put the dog down? Because it's not working. If it worked,